So before we really get into it, I do want to go over, because I think we've both kind of at least read over a little bit on this topic of the, 1,500 species
Yes.
in the animal kingdom that have been observed in homosexual activities. So, and 500 of those have descriptive accounts. I would like to start this question by premising it differently. Is gay natural? Because not everything that's natural is okay, right? But is homosexuality natural?
Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to answer, Christy. But yes, it seems so. It is natural. As I said, there's 1,500 different species that we have observed. And obviously we haven't observed every species on the planet. But there's bonobos are one.
Mm-hmm.
You can find there's a lot of different birds. Penguins. If you didn't know, most penguins mate for life, which is really, really neat. And it's the same with homosexual penguins. If they don't have children, if they don't have eggs, some penguins will actually sit on rocks.
Yeah.
Like they're going to hatch them. And that's super sweet.
It's very sweet.
It is. It's very sweet. There's some birds. I had it up. I think I remember. Oh, yeah. It's so there's a quarter of the black swan.
Yes.
Are all parented by homosexual couples. If they're a male couple, sometimes the female they'll mate with a female, and then she'll lay the egg, and then they'll chase her away, and then they'll just raise the young as a little kid.
Yes.
And obviously, there's other sexual orientations that other species kind of practice. Like some are hermaphrodites, some don't have any sex life at all. Like there's some marine animals that just kind of squirt their sperm or their eggs out into the ocean, and then it kind of just works out that way. So there's so many different ways to reproduce, right? But really, reproduction isn't the only thing that sex is practiced for in the animal kingdom, outside of just counting us, these animals right here. And obviously, we don't just use sex to reproduce anymore either. I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one. I like to have fun. So
you're not alone.
Oh, yes.
You're not.
I thought I was the only one in the room. Well, I don't really enjoy it, but I do it to get the job done. And I got 2 cute kids out of it, so I think it was worth it.
They're very cute.
Yes. But you got a couple cute kids out of it too, right?
I did.
So
I learned how that happened very, very fast.
Very, very fast. Before I go on, I'm going to go on a little rant just because I think it's fun. One thing that I like to do, because I like the kind of humor that makes people uncomfortable. So whenever I find out one of my friends or someone I kind of know is pregnant, I'm like, oh, that's so wonderful. Congratulations. Did you eat a baby? They're like, what? I'm like, did you eat a baby? No, what? I'm like, well, then how did it get in your belly? And they're like, I'm like, can you explain it to me? Please. And they're like, I ate a baby. They always give it. Gonna love it. So
babies are delicious.
They are delicious. I'm an atheist. I don't know how else babies get in your tummy. Hashtag did you eat a baby? Um, moving on.
uh,
Moving on. Yeah, there are many species that practice homosexuality, and I know that doesn't answer the question, is gay okay? But maybe we can get into why I I assume Christy thinks it is okay.
Mostly. I do.
Mostly.
I do. And researching this, I found a lot of those stories as well. In Amsterdam, there are two vultures, two male vultures. They mate for life. And these two male vultures were a couple. And the zoo sees them all the time as a couple. Well, they had found a vulture egg, same exact breed. And so they found that it was viable and already fertilized. So they just sat it with them. It's been 6 years now. They raised the chick together. I mean, there's tons of stories like that. Penguins, the same-sex couples, and if there's two males and there's extra eggs, they will also give them an egg to raise for themselves. It happens all the time. There's all these phenomenal stories like that. What was it? The albatross nests in Hawaii. 20 to 30% of that breed are homosexual for life. Like they'll still have sex with the opposite sex to breed, but they go back to their partner. It's all over the place. It was fascinating to read all the swans. 20% of swans. That's huge. 20%. I did not know that it was so many. Were fabulous. I just didn't know how gay the natural animal kingdom actually was. Worms are gay. So worms.
Yeah.
I didn't think that worms. Yeah. Bonobos, they don't have sex for 1 or 2 or 10 reasons. They have sex for every reason.
Every single reason.
Every reason. There's something
Lindsay's
called
told me about
penis
these for years.
fencing. So you know about penis fencing. That's what it's called. That's the scientific name for it.
That's
penis
fantastic.
fencing, like on guard.
I didn't know about that, actually. I actually
yes, they
didn't
rub
know
them
that.
together to calm each other down, or to after a fight, like, hey, you don't have to fight. We can do this instead. That's how they solve everything. And they kiss, mouth to mouth kisses while having sex. Bonobos are they're pretty phenomenal. I could watch them for hours. They crack me up. Shut up, don't laugh.
I could watch them for hours.
Soundbite, I guess.
Yes. Save it.
Damn it, man. That's so funny.
Actually, I want to talk about bonobos even more because they get extreme. Like they get intense. They get so intense. Like you said, they don't need an occasion, right? It's time to fuck all the time. Fuck time
all the time.
Examples that I've heard. Lindsay watches a lot of nature documentaries, and so she's told me about bonobos quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Some instances include, hey, that guy's depressed. Orgy.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Hey, we just won a war.
Orgy.
Orgy. And they'll have sex with both sides of
yes, everybody.
Left, right? Even during war, they'll literally fuck the brains out of the other side. It gets pretty extreme. They like sex a lot, even when they're angry.
So we could learn a lot from them.
We could
make love, not war. It was there the whole time.
Make love, war.
Make war love.
Make war love. As devastating as it gets. So there's that. But bonobos are really one of the most fascinating sexual creatures on the planet. And again, they don't care if it's male and female, male, female, the entire community together. They just love to fuck. This show, we should just plan on it not getting monetized when we get there.
Ever.
Ever. Hopefully this one's watched quite often because this is a fun topic.
It is a fun topic. Did you read when you were doing this about the lions, male lions?
No.
I had no idea about male lions. Male lions, to ensure loyalty, they do it in twos and threes, so that the king of the pride and then his two brothers in the pride, they don't necessarily even have to be his blood brothers, just two that are not big enough to take his position yet, but there to help him. All three of them or both of them have sex all the time. Female lions as well. Without them, like, just you stay over there. We got this over here. There were so many species that did this. Bottlenose dolphins. They will stay forever in a relationship. Animals. Yeah, Stacy's too. She loves dolphins. They will live up until adolescence for boy bottlenose dolphins. They are almost exclusively gay. And then they reach a certain age where they procreate, and many of them go back and that's their relationship. Here's to make babies, but then I'll come back over here. It's so fascinating. What was the one? Research in the U.S. found that between 6 and 12% of domesticated rams, the males prefer other males. Same with sheep. And they found hypothalamus part of the brain that produces or releases sex hormones. When studied these sheep and the ram, they found that part was smaller in all of the gay sheep and ram than it was in the straight ones. And there is a kitty behind you.
Oh, hello. Excuse me. Yeah, I was saying, Kat is very excited about what's going on outside, which is almost nothing, but I usually don't have the blinds pulled up. Vibrantly Brantley said in the chat, Christy, ducks are rapey. I don't like ducks. They'll even have sex with a dead male or female duck. Ducks are gross. Also, ducks have a corkscrew penis.
Yes, I think it's like 12 to 20% of ducks have a corkscrew penis.
Oh, is it only low percent?
Yes, but it doesn't matter. That's too much of it.
That's too many corkscrew
I don't want any part of that.
There's True Facts.
Yes.
YouTube channel called like True Facts. I don't know if it has any other name, but it's like True Facts about like iguanas, True Facts about ducks, True Facts about just about everything. They have a really fun channel, and the ducks one is really great, and that's where I learned about the corkscrew penis that ducks have. And not only do ducks have a corkscrew penis, the female ducks have a corkscrew vagina. The only problem is it corkscrews in the opposite way, which is probably why, Brantley, they're so rapey, because it doesn't feel good. Kind of cats too, like lions and cats, like they have barbed penises. Yes. So it's not quite as enjoyable as you might think it is. Except, I mean, like, even my cat right now, thing's in heat right now. She wants to so bad, but it's a barbed penis.
Yes. So. And I read about quite a few animals. This was a fun research because there was quite a few things that I didn't know. Domestic dogs and cats are observed, and that just justifies. I had a very gay cat. I had 2 cats from the same litter. One, his name was Bob Marley Santiago because my daughter named him, and that's what she named him. And the other one was Angelo, and he went by Angel because we couldn't call him. He was an angel. He didn't want to roam. He was so gay. He tried to get with his brother all the time, and his brother, Bob Marley Santiago, was definitely straight and was not down with it. It was
Well, that's not
interesting. I mean, and I had them throughout their whole cat lives until the very last few years. And one was definitely gay, and I hadn't read anything or seen anything about domesticated cats or dogs until researching for this. And I was like, I knew it. So that's interesting. And that dogs and cats also will do it as like an alpha. I'm alpha and you're going to take it. And it doesn't mean much more than that. But they will also choose only to be with a boy or a girl, which would be them being observed as being gay. I thought that was fascinating. I didn't know.
absolutely.
I love animals. And I didn't know. I probably had big old gay floofs and didn't even know.
So, I'm going to try to move the conversation forward just a little bit, so we don't rant too long, because we could go over a lot of like animal penises and stuff for a while. But excuse me. So there is an argument, especially from the kind of like Christian side of talking about homosexuality, that look, sex is for reproduction. Well, obviously, it's not just for reproduction. We've evolved in a way to where we enjoy sex, and we're not the only species that enjoy sex, as we've gone over. So, but there's also the argument, which is what I was getting to. I'm sorry, of population. How are we supposed to reproduce if everyone's gay? Well, one, not everyone's gay. Two, a lot of animals that are in like a flock or like a community, they mate with other animals in that community, right. And then they raise their young on their own, right? And humans do that too sometimes, right? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, see, but you were married before, right?
Right.
Right.
And I'm sure it happens all the time. We have gay friends who have kids from a previous marriage. Yeah. I think that the older I get, the more it just confirms that sexuality is such a spectrum. It's not this, or this in the middle. It's all kinds of variants in between, and all of them are natural. All of them are correct. You should always do what you want to do when it's consensual and sexual, and there's that. All of it is natural. All of it is natural. Yes. Especially when there's two consenting adults. Yes.
Right, and I agree. I agree full-heartedly on that. And we'll get into the topic of consent a little more soon.
Yes.
But the population aspect, I'd like to focus on for just a few minutes, if you have some input on it. But I think that one, the world's kind of getting overpopulated, as we discussed like 2 weeks ago, right? With when we were talking about the Green New Deal and the mass extinction going on right now. Part of that is because of overpopulation, and we have to think about how to feed ourselves. And with all the cows that we have and the methane that we're putting into the air, well, that's not good for us, right? So when we're struggling to feed ourselves and we're destroying habitats and just like whole environments, like our entire environment, just with agriculture alone having such a huge impact, I would say it's not a bad thing if we really slow down reproduction. Also, we have an infant mortality rate of much, 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 much less than 100 or 150 years ago. So we don't need to reproduce as
right.
much as we did before. It's best if we don't. We're going to suffocate ourselves. We're going to starve ourselves, I think. So, what's your thoughts on this part of the topic? Population.
Yikes. Yes, the population. Yikes. Yes, because there's always going to be that. I don't know. You've probably, YouTube. You can go down a lot of rabbit holes when it comes to population control. I agree with you. It's scary. There's if you think of human population and take the human part out of it and just think of it as another species, if it were wolves, how would we control it? If it were bears, how would we control it? If it were giraffes, how could we control it? Which I found giraffes have exclusively gay relationships until their adolescence. I didn't know that either. I thought that was wonderful. I know we would control it a different way than we would ever think of as humans or two humans, and I'm okay with that. I don't think we should do that. It's
Right.
just a way to think, wow, we're making an exception for humans. I'm not saying to eliminate anyone who's here. That's horrible. But
No,
I
we are
do
not
think that
advocating for that at all.
no.
We actually condemn it. We don't
No.
just not
Yeah.
advocate for it.
Right.
So-
Absolutely do condemn it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
However, I think if people had access to actual education that says this is sex education, the good, everything about it, just the facts. And here's a clinic who will help you have birth control and condoms, and that was available for every community all across this globe, things would be different. They absolutely would. I can't think that maybe in the 19 kids and counting, the quiverful families, that's the only people we'd have to worry about. But they're such a small population compared to the rest of us. It would mainly help in villages and in places where they walk to get their water. That's where it would do the most justice and the most good. Right. I think that's where we should be helping out, and as far as population. Yeah,
because I think that I've heard the argument, and I'm not sure if Rachel Oates said this during her talk with Alex and Stephen Woodford, but they did talk about, I think it was homosexuality, but they actually they came across this part of the topic, population. But when they were, I'm trying to think of the exact examples and I don't really remember, but older communities have been recorded to have homosexuals and their communities, like more ancient communities, and I can't quote which ones, but and they were accepted. And what's kind of great about it is when when there were gay or lesbian couples in these villages, in these communities, well, then they wouldn't have kids, so they could help raise the kids that were there. It really does help society as a whole. So like these kids are more taken care of. They're more overviewed. They're a lot of times they're more educated because they get more attention. So the families who want to have more kids, like by reproducing that way, then they can do that. And there's other people in the community who like kids but can't have them, right? So there is a benefit there that I think is overlooked a lot. If you have more adults who can't reproduce and are okay with that, because there's other means of getting kids outside of just your relationship, right? Like whether you go to like a sperm donor or like you decide to like hook up with someone to make a baby. Again, sperm donor or egg donor.
Yes.
There's different ways to go about it, and there's different ways to help your community that way. What was it Christopher Hitchens said when him and Stephen Fry were debating the Catholic Church on is the church good? I think he said because the Catholic Church condemned homosexuality for so long. Christopher Hitchens made the point that I would much rather this fine man, Stephen Fry, being a homosexual himself, I would much rather him watch my children any day. But if you send one of your Catholic priests to my door, first I'd call a cab and then I'd call the police. Like, and I think that's fair, given their history. But not only, it's just like, just because you're gay doesn't mean you're a bad person, right? Obviously. So I think that's kind of my rant here on the topic, is that there's some pros that we really do ignore.
Right.
And I think those are some of them. Do you have anything else?
I do. I love that you brought up it was pre-Christianity, and there are many stories like that with the Native Americans. There were tribes where a young human in their tribe who was born male decided to be a woman, and they accepted that person as a woman, and that woman was a woman in their tribe, and vice versa. Someone who was born a female decided that human wanted to be a male and hunt and gather and do all the things that the men in the tribe did. That's just what that human did. It was never condemned or looked bad on. And not all tribes were like this, but there are documented tribes in North America. They also saw the same, as you said, the gay couple would be at home helping well-rounded education, help providing help providing a well-rounded education for the young humans in their tribe, in their village. It's so smart. And think about that time. If you didn't produce milk or the mother died, so did the baby. That was it. So they kept people around like wet nurses. A lot of wet nurses were known to be in same-sex relationships, and they would keep the milk going for the village. So whenever a baby was born, if something happened, there would be milk available. There was stories like that all throughout antiquity. It was not so much looked bad on until. Yeah, that's,
it's neat.
A wet nurse. Look up the origins of wet nurse. It's pretty fascinating. And there would have to be, because if the mom died, which was 50% women died in childbirth, that's, they bled out after the baby was born. And then who's going to feed? You can't feed the baby cow's milk. They'll die. You have to feed them human milk in the beginning, and I thought, that a lot has been changed because times changed. The rulers changed. Wars were won, and the new winners write the history and change the laws. And I think that it's time that everybody has one of these in their hand with like the sum of human knowledge inside of it. It's that I can't wake up a day since I have had this change, being open to learn anything. I have nothing holding me back. There's so much we don't know. And so every day when I look at a phone and I think anything I want to learn is on here, I am so lucky. So I think that it's time that we all take advantage of that and learn and learn and learn and spread goodness. When you hear someone saying something bigoted about gay, say, hey, did you know that, over 1,500 species have been scientifically observed to be a little bit gay at least? Like, let's go check it out. Let's go find out which ones.
Right. And don't let anyone just tell you, okay, well, that's just your opinion. They're like, no, that's just observations. Sorry.